Yeah, I just started as Assistant Secretary of Housing, and one of my deputies came up to me, grabbed me by the shoulder, and he said, we have a problem, we need you. So I walked down to a room, and I walked into a room, and there were 30 civil servants sitting around the table, and everybody was really scared. You could feel it in the room. The room was just, and I had two deputies with me, and they said, we have a problem with coinsurance. I said, what's coinsurance? I didn't know. It was a program started during the Reagan administration whereby private mortgage bankers were given the authority to issue federal mortgage insurance for apartment buildings. And about $9 billion had been issued during the Reagan administration. The program ultimately had a 50% default rate, which defies imagination. Well, it was significant fraud. During that period, when Oliver North was over at the National Security Council, one fraudster once said that Oliver North had said during that period that HUD was the candy store of covert revenues. And when you look at coinsurance, you can't come up with a theory that would explain that level of defaults without saying it was financing the black budget. But anyway, all of that was not understood by me at the time. So I said, what's coinsurance? And they explained, okay, it's this mortgage insurance, and we have this coinsurer. He was from Indiana, and he has a portfolio of $400 million of coinsurance outstanding. And we have promised the HUD Inspector General that we will not finance a coinsurer if they get in trouble because we don't have the legal authority to do it. So we want your permission to finance this guy. I said, wait a minute, we have no legal authority to provide him with financing. And you're telling me we've promised the Inspector General we won't do that, but you're asking me to finance this guy. And I said, why would I finance this guy? Let me see his portfolio. So they give me a piece of paper, and I'm looking at his portfolio, and he has $400 million of mortgage insurance outstanding, of which there is already an 18% default rate. Now, the interesting thing about this is there's an 18% default rate, even though all of this insurance has 18 to 36 months of capitalized interest. Now, what that means is we've financed enough money for them to be able to make their debt service payments for the first 18 to 36 months, but they've defaulted already before that period is up. Well, I mean, there's something very bizarre and very fraudulent going on. So I look at this and I said, well, wait a minute. If this guy keeps issuing mortgage insurance, we're going to lose a lot of money, and it's going to harm neighborhoods because when apartment building loans default, it hurts the tenants, it hurts the community. So this is bad for communities, and we're losing money. Why would we want to break the law to help this guy continue to operate? Don't we want this guy to stop? Why would we want to take risks to keep him going? And 30 civil servants had tremendous interest in their shoes. They were all looking deeply at their shoes. And finally, one who ran the office, who had the most courage, looked up and he said, this coinsurer is a major Republican donor. And I looked at them and I held up my presidential cufflinks. I was wearing Fred. So I held up my presidential cufflinks. You give $10,000 in one check, you get presidential cufflinks. I said, I'm a major Republican donor, and I get cufflinks. I don't get $400 million of credit. And I said, you don't do that. You get cufflinks. You don't get $400 million of federal credit. And they all looked up from their shoes, and they looked at me as though I was the dumbest woman in the planet. And that's when I realized, not only is what's been going on here unbelievably corrupt, it's not optimized, because if you look at what the politicians were getting in exchange for $400 million, they were not getting their money's worth. I mean, I'm telling you, they were not getting their money's worth. So I said, oh, this is really bad. So I said, okay, I said, it's a new day. Shut this guy down. We are not making illegal loans. We are not keeping this guy going. Shut this guy down. I leave my office. I leave the room. I walk back to my office. That takes maybe 45 seconds. I walk in the office, and within within 2 minutes, I get a call from the chief of staff to one of the senators in Indiana. And he says, let's call this guy Jones. He says, I pick up the phone, hello. He says, this is so-and-so. How dare you shut Jones down? This took him 2 minutes. So I took a deep breath and said as follows. I said, now you don't know me. I said, we've never met, but I know your senator. And he is a man of great reputation and a fine man. And I know that he doesn't know, and I know you don't know what I know about Mr. Jones and his operation. And that's why, and you don't know my background, but I was a partner at a Wall Street firm, and I'm on the board at the Wharton Graduate School, and I have this credential and that credential, and I've been through this guy's portfolio, and so you don't know me, and you don't know what I know about Mr. Jones, but what I'm going to tell you is that I am never going to tell anybody your name or that you made this call, because I know you don't know what I know, and I know if you did, you wouldn't want anybody to know you made this call. So I'm thinking this guy's going to kill me. At which point he says, oh, thank you so much, and hangs up. And I thought, well, that worked. And then 30 seconds later, the phone rings. It's the Secretary of HUD and said, what the F did you just do? And then I go upstairs and get called on the carpet. That's right.